The Formula S was introduced in 1965 as a performance package for the first-generation Barracuda. The Formula S package included a 273 V8 engine with a 4-barrel carburetor, a hotter cam, a heavy-duty suspension, and a higher compression ratio. The Formula S package was designed to make the Barracuda more competitive with the Ford Mustang and other sporty compacts of the time. A Commando 273 V8 makes 235 horses and 280 torque, helping the car run the quarter mile in 15.9 seconds, and has a top speed of 118 miles per hour. The 1965 Barracuda Formula S was a significant milestone for the Chrysler Corporation, as it was the first hot LA small block engine and the first step towards the legendary 340 and 360 engines that powered the later Barracudas and other muscle cars. Back in 1964, Ford hired Carroll Shelby to transform the Mustang into a competitive race car for the SCCA B production class, as well as to appeal to street enthusiasts who wanted a fast and distinctive vehicle. Shelby and his team at Shelby American modified the Mustang Fastback with a more powerful engine, a stiffer suspension, a lighter body, and a distinctive paint scheme. The result was the GT350, a high-performance machine that could outrun most of its rivals on the track and the street. It had a small-block 289 V8 engine that produced 306 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, and could reach a top speed of 135 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 6.6 seconds. Only 562 units were produced in 1965, 34 of which were R model, making them highly collectible today. The L79 engine was introduced in 1965 as an option for the Corvette and the Chevelle. It had 350 horsepower, but it was actually more than that. It was also light, which made the car easier to steer and stop. The L79 engine worked with a 4-speed manual transmission and a 4.11 rear axle ratio, which made the car very fast and agile. The Chevelle SS L79 could finish a quarter mile in the high 14 seconds. The Chevelle SS offered the L79 engine until 1968 when it switched to the 350 cubic inch V8 engine. It was one of the fastest and most affordable muscle cars of its time, and it could compete with many big block machines on the drag strip. Back in 1967, Buick introduced a 340 cubic inch engine option to the popular Grand Sport nameplate. This engine offers 260 horsepower and 365 torque from the factory. The standard transmission was a synchronized 3-speed manual box, with the Super Turbine 302-speed automatic as the only listed option. The GS340 was marketed as a practical alternative to the more powerful and expensive GS400, but it also offered some performance options, such as Sport Pack suspension and a rear stabilizer bar. The car was available only in 2 colors, platinum mist and white, and only with vinyl bench seats in black. The GS340 was a 1-year-only model, as a new generation of Buick V8 replaced this engine in 1968. Only around 4,000 units were sold, making it a rare and collectible Buick today. The Dart GTS 340 was a muscle car combining a compact chassis and a powerful small-block engine. It was part of the Dart line that Dodge redesigned in 1967, and it offered superior handling and acceleration over its larger and heavier competitors. The 340 cubic inch V8 engine thrummed with 275 horsepower and 340 torque, enough to launch this pocket rocket to a quarter mile in just 14.38 seconds at 97 miles per hour. That was seriously quick for its time, putting it at the top of its class. The GTS 340 also featured a 4-speed manual transmission, heavy-duty suspension, front disc brakes, and bucket seats. Only 5,513 units were built in 1968, making them rare and highly sought after by collectors today. So, if you ever have the chance to get behind the wheel of one, don't hesitate. The W31 was a unique package of the Cutlass model that featured a high-performance 350 cubic inch engine known as the Ramrod 350. The engine was rated at 325 horsepower and featured a high-lift camshaft, larger valves, a special harmonic balancer, and a dual snorkel air cleaner. The W31 option was only available on the F85 Club Coupe, Cutlass Supreme Coupe, and Standard Cutlass Coupe, and came with manual transmission and manual brakes. The W31 was a rare and limited production option, with only 742 units built in 1968. It was mainly intended for drag racing and achieved several victories in the NHRA and the American Hot Rod Association circuits. The 326 V8 version launched in 1967 still seemed not powerful enough to close the gap with the 400 V8, so in 1968, Pontiac expanded the 326 to 354 cubic inches, but still labeled it 350. This engine produced 320 horsepower, 35 horsepower more than its predecessor. The 350 HO featured a 4-barrel carburetor, dual exhaust, heavy-duty suspension, and wide oval tires. It was distinguished by a chrome air cleaner and valve covers, as well as a hood-mounted tachometer. It was available with either a 3-speed manual or a turbo-hydra-matic automatic transmission. It was a popular choice among Firebird buyers, offering a balance of power and affordability. The CUDA 340 was part of the second generation of the Barracuda, which debuted in 1967 with a new fastback body style and a wider range of engine options. The CUDA package was introduced in 1969 as the sportiest and highest-performing Barracuda. It was available with either a 340, 383, or 440 Super Commando V8 engine. The small block 340 engine had 275 horses and 340 torque, although some sources claim that the actual output was much higher. It came with a standard 4-speed manual transmission and an optional 3-speed automatic. The CUDA 340 was a versatile performer that could compete with larger and more powerful engines, earning it the nickname Giant Killer. It was only produced for 1 year, as the Barracuda underwent a major redesign in 1970, moving to the new E-body platform that shared many components with the Dodge Challenger. Only 666 units were made in 1969. The Boss 302 Mustang was created to challenge the Camaro Z28, which had dominated the Trans Am series in 1968. Ford hired ex-GM executives Bunky Knudsen and Shinoda, who knew the Camaro's specifications and how to beat them. The Boss 302 engine combined the block of the Windsor 302 with the large valve heads of the Cleveland 351, resulting in a powerful and rev-happy motor. The Boss 302 also had improved suspension, brakes, and steering for better handling. It was a success on the track and the street. It won the Trans Am Championship in 1970, driven by Parnelli Jones and Dan Gurney. It also became an automotive legend, admired for its sporty looks, performance attributes, and scarcity. Only 1,628 units were made in 1969 and 7,013 in 1970. The Eliminator was a performance package for Mercury's pony car that debuted in mid-1969. It featured a performance-tuned suspension, front and rear spoilers, a hood scoop, and optional ram air induction, which improved handling and aerodynamics. The most desirable engine option for the Eliminator was the Boss 302, a race-inspired V8 that produced 290 horsepower and was designed for Trans Am road racing. Only 169 Eliminators were built with the Boss 302 engine, making it one of the rarest Mercury vehicles ever produced. The Boss 302 Eliminator was also the only way to get a Cougar with this engine, as it was unavailable on any other Cougar model.